Hi, my name's Katie, and I'd like to welcome you to Frankston City Library's FrankTALK with Julie Fisher. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which Frankston City Libraries operates, the Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future. I'd like to extend that respect to the elders of other communities who may be joining us today. There are times in your life that don't go exactly according to plan, and this was one of them for Julie. As we celebrate Down Syndrome Awareness Month this month, I'm very excited to welcome Julie Fisher. Julie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here today and share our journey with everyone.
Fantastic. That's lovely. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, not a problem. So our book, The Unexpected Journey, is about our journey with our son, Darcy. Darcy was born with Down syndrome. He's our youngest son. We have 3 boys, and I also have a stepdaughter as well, an older daughter. So I talk about, I start the journey during pregnancy because that was when we got the diagnosis. I was 15 weeks pregnant, and we got the diagnosis from the doctors. We decided we wanted to find out when there was a bit of a question there because we wanted to tell everybody. We were never going to terminate the pregnancy, but we wanted to tell our friends and family so that we could all sort of get our heads around it and go through the process before he was born. I still have my friend Tina. I met her 2 years before I had Darcy, and she has a daughter with Down syndrome. So I'd asked her lots of questions during those first couple of years of our friendship about when they got diagnosis, and the stories that she told me were, quite heartbreaking because it's quite a shock to the system when you do hear news like that. So that was because of her. That's why I made the decision to find out while I was pregnant, because I thought I really would like him to be welcomed into the world like his brothers were, on a real positive note. I didn't want people crying in the hospital room when he was born, and it's exactly how it happened. When he was born, there was lots of doctors and nurses and lots of students in the room, and when he was born, even though he was early, he came out screaming like a rock star, and it was like being at a concert. Everyone was cheering and clapping. So it was really beautiful. It was a gorgeous moment, and I don't regret finding out while I was pregnant. I was also able to start advocating for him and start to plan out his early years. So that was really beneficial because we got into some programs a lot earlier than some people normally would. So yeah, and then the rest of the book just talks about some complications that he had as a baby. Schooling, I talk about schooling because he did some mainstream schooling. Also talk about some of the lovely things that he does now in his life. Wow, what else do I talk about? I talk about lots and lots of different things, battles that we've had fighting for his rights. But also, I think one of the main points I want to get across in my book is just, that he's a person first, the disability second. And it's just he's a wonderful boy. I just want people to know that it's not scary. Even with our typical children, we have lots of scary moments, I think, as they're growing up and we're learning how to raise them. And, there's always something. But I think when you hear the word disability, you get a little bit more frightened. So I want people to know that, you don't need to be like that. There's lots of support out there. I talk about how important support is, and there's lots of it out there, even if it's just a friend. If you don't want to connect with groups or anything like that, just having a friend that you can talk to and go through the journey with. And I think, all of us as mums and dads, we all know that we all talk to our friends about our kids and have questions and want advice. And it's the same when you have a child with a disability. I met a gentleman on the weekend last weekend, and he has a disability. His name is Emmanuel Kelly. Some of you will know his name. And he doesn't describe himself as having a disability. He describes himself as differently abled. And I really, really like that. That really resonated with me, and I'm definitely going to use that word a lot more in the future. So, yeah. So that's pretty much what the book is about. Just our journey. So from pregnancy right through to last year when he was 13. And, you know, he does lots of wonderful things. He's very social. He's very active. He does bowling, basketball, singing, dancing, football. He loves to go to parties. He loves to connect with people just like everybody else. So, you know, and I want people to know that too, that it's important. You know, he's a person just like we are. So yeah.
Amazing. It sounds like a beautiful, beautiful read. And I've just seen Marnie's just dropped the link in there of where you can purchase your book. Now, tell me, you had a bit of an unusual experience in publishing, unusual compared to other authors that we've spoken to. Can you tell us a little bit about your publishing, your writing and your publishing journey?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, because I didn't go with traditional publishers. So I've always had a love of writing, and I've always dreamed about writing a book right from high school. So most of my writing's just like journaling and things like that, and maybe writing little short stories. And over the years, every now and then I would submit one, you know, on a platform if I saw it come up. And I never really had any luck, but I didn't worry about it too much. You know, I'd started having my children and raising the family and working, so things were getting busy. And then the year before last, you know, I started to get a bit stir, and I thought, "No, I really would like to write this book one day." So I was just actually flicking through Facebook, and I saw this ad come up and said, "Do you want to write your book? How about do it now?" So I looked at the ad, and I sort of stalked the people. They're called Ultimate 48-Hour Author. And they looked legitimate. So I went along to a half-day event with them, and they talked about, you know, how they teach people to get their content out quickly, and they can teach you to unpack your book and get it into this form. So I sat there in the half-day event, and I thought, bugger it, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to do this. So I signed up with them, and last year in May, I went on a retreat with them. So it was a 3-day retreat where we started getting the content of our book out. Before going on the retreat, I had the title and the tagline, and I had all the chapters ready to go, all the headings, and I had my mock-up cover. So I had this cover to show to everybody at the retreat, and we all got to critique each other's book covers and things like that. So the way they taught us is to dictate the content, which is why you need to have the book unpacked first, so you know what you're talking about. Dictate each chapter, about 17 minutes, into your phone. And when you've finished, you put the transcriptions into a Dropbox, and they send it off to get transcribed. And then when you get that back, you've got your book in front of you, your whole book. And then you just have to go through and clean it up, because obviously transcribing, sometimes you don't hear the words properly and things like that. So I went to the retreat, and I set myself a goal to get all 12 chapters out by the end of the weekend, and I did. So we submitted them for transcribing on the Sunday, and I think I got home from work Monday afternoon, and it was there on my computer. So so from the time I went to the retreat to the time I had my book in hand, it was 4 months. So
Wow.
yeah.
So how long do you think all up? So that from seeing that first Facebook ad, and I know that Facebook ads get a lot of bad press, but sometimes when it's really, you know, a niche subject that you're interested in, how useful that that popped up for you. So between the ad and having the physical book in your hand, how long was that process?
That was 13 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I sort of think, I remember sitting there, and when I saw the ad and decided to click on it and decided to go to the half-day event, I thought, you know what, I've been sitting here for years wanting to write this book, you know, mentioning it to people, you know, when you meet people, if you think, oh, they're from publishing, I might just sort of mention that I'm, you know, interested in writing a book. And, you know, you do all of that and nothing ever happens. And then an ad like that comes up, and it just feels right. You know, the time's right. And I sort of thought, you know what, bugger it, I'm going to do it. This ad, I'd never seen an ad like that at all ever before pop up. So it popped up, and I just went, and I went for it. And yeah, my journey, the book writing journey has been amazing. And so initially I just wanted to write the book and tick it off my bucket list. But now I'm presently working on a second book. I'm actively raising awareness for people with Down syndrome and disabilities, or differently abled people, I should say. And I'm going to create a support group for families and do some advocacy work for people that need it. You know, sometimes Darcy's still young, he's 14, and you know, you meet a lot of people, and some people are not as confident speaking on behalf of their kids or things like that. So I want to help people with that. So my whole world of just ticking off a bucket list items completely changed, and I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. So
tell us about this next project that you're working on. What can you tell us about that? What's it about?
It's about access and inclusion. So so I'm going to, and from a mum's point of view, so I want it to sort of read similar to my story. But of course, there's going to be some technical points in there and action points. I'm going to put some action points in there for people to take away with them. And then the last chapter, I'm going to talk about Darcy, because he does a lot of inclusive activities. And yes, I just want to raise awareness for inclusion. And it's not just about letting someone in the door. It's also about making sure they're able to participate in everything once you've let them in, if you know what I mean. So, so like, say for instance, with Darcy, he was incontinent up until this year. So we've had success this year. That's been great. And when he was about, probably about 7, he was too big for the baby change table. So everywhere you go, they've got disabled toilets, but there was nowhere for me to change him. I had to lie him down. So I had to also remember to pack a blanket or a towel to lay him down on the floor, because I couldn't do it any other way. So, you know, things like that. I think there's still a lot of change that can be done so that everybody feels accepted and included, and not have to worry about what's missing, you know. So yes, I'm writing a book about that. And
yeah, that sounds like that the new book's going to be a great resource, not just for parents, but also for service providers, schools, anyone that's in the planning and developing of public spaces.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, sometimes you just don't think of things because you're not in that situation. So I thought, you know, writing a book like that from a mum's point of view, because I will probably think of different things, you know. For instance, a girlfriend of mine, she does a lot of advocating as well. And we were all planning to go to the Doveton show last year, and her 2 children are autistic, and they need a sensory area to be able to go to if they get overwhelmed. And she asked them if they had that, and they said, "Oh, we've got an empty room that you can go to." And she said, "Oh, well, that's not a sensory area. You know, sensory area is about, if I take them into an empty room, they're going to freak out because there's nothing in there." So she actually started working with them for this year, but of course the show hasn't gone on, to work on a lovely sensory area for anybody to go to if they're feeling a bit overwhelmed in a crowd, because it's not just people with autism or Down syndrome that get overwhelmed in a crowd. Lots of people get overwhelmed in a crowd with anxiety and things. So if you've got a nice little area that you can go sit on a nice comfy couch and just relax for a minute, it helps out. So things like that as well. Yeah.
That's amazing. Tell me, what does Darcy think of the first book?
Oh, he's very proud.
That's absolutely gorgeous. Is
Yeah.
he just thinking, I'm the star of the show?
Yeah.
There's now a book written about me.
Because a lot of people said to me, like, while I was working on it and writing it, does he understand what's going on? And I said, oh, look, I'm not really sure. He hasn't asked a lot of questions. I've told him that Mum's writing a story about him. But when we got the books delivered, he was very proud. And then, you know, probably for the next 4 to 6 weeks, if anybody came over, he'd say, oh, quick, come, close your eyes, I'll show you something. And he showed them the book, very proud. And when we got the banner behind, he was pretty proud about that too. So he's enjoyed the process, and every time I do something relating to the book, he says, oh, that's about me, you know. So yeah,
that's awesome. I love it. I can just imagine.
yeah.
And so for people that haven't read the book yet, or the people that are reading it at the moment, what's your sort of the most important takeaway that you hope people take from this book?
Probably the most important one, to me is to see the person, not the disability. Because first and foremost, that's what we all are. We're all people. Darcy likes to have friends. He likes to be loved. He likes to learn. He likes to play. He likes to go to concerts, just like all of us. So see the person, not the disability. And I know, sometimes when the disability is visible, sometimes you can be taken aback, but I think just stop yourself and remind yourself that they're people before anything else. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway I'd like people to get from it. And also if you see, especially a mum with a child with a disability, and you find yourself staring, because sometimes, I look at people too. I love people watching. I think people are fascinating. But if you find yourself looking at the child, just give them a little smile if you catch yourself doing it, because sometimes the mums interpret the look in a negative way. I think because they're worried about their child not being accepted. So I know I've done that over the years. I've changed my mindset on that. So if I see people looking at us, I say hello or I smile. And since doing that, I get a great response. People just say hello back. And Darcy, he likes to say hello to people. So if he walks past and he likes the way you look, he's going to say hi, or just give you a smile or give you a wave. So do it back, because it makes a massive difference to how the parent's feeling. So
I love that, Julie. And we were talking before we started recording about I've got a 15-year-old nephew who has cerebral palsy, and yeah, absolutely. I know that sentiment would really resonate with my sister. She often will encourage, if she sees a little kid looking, my nephew has now learnt that sometimes he does have to start the conversation and say, oh, hello, are you looking at my wheelchair? And this is how I get around. And yeah, but it's a different mindset to be able to see if people are looking probably out of curiosity, not judgment. But yeah, he's 15 now. It takes a long time. So what would your advice be to parents who might be embarking on their own unexpected journey at the moment? What would be what would you say to them about your own journey? What's the pearls of wisdom that you can pass on?
I think support, don't be afraid to reach out, and don't, sometimes, we go through different emotions when we hear certain types of news, like denial and all of that. And I've met some people recently that have got friends that have had children with Down syndrome, and I'm not getting involved with any disability groups, but sometimes it's nice to be around people that are traveling along the same journey as well, because you go through, like any child, you go through similar milestones, you go through lots of similar things. Even the support group I was in before Darcy was born, I joined one, and some of the ladies, their kids were already 4 and 5, and they would come to the group and they'd go, oh my God, he's doing this or he's doing that, bloody Down syndrome. And I said, my older boys did that. It's not got nothing to do with Down syndrome. So I think it's good to have a group that you can connect with and tell your stories to, and we can give advice. And that's number one. I think it's very important. Even if it's just a small network, it doesn't have to be a massive group. It can just be 1 or 2 people that you can sort of say, oh, I wonder if this is, normal for them to be doing right now, things like that. And look, people with Down syndrome, Darcy's the same as us. They reach their milestones at different times, and we're all like that, and we're all good at some things and not at others. So don't be afraid to reach out for support. I find it really important. So
That's great advice. That's really good advice. We all need support, don't we? Every parent needs just to have somebody to debrief to and just vent to, especially at this time where we are all a little bit disconnected. I really feel for parents at the moment that they're not able to have that in-person connection with other new parents.
Yeah, it can be very hard. But these type of meetings are good. You can still connect and you can still meet people and find out what they're like. And I think that's important too. There's lots of services out there that are running lots of online support things that you can go to and get ideas. And I've been to a few of those as well, and I've found them really well. So
Can I say something, or is it not possible?
Oh, you can. I think you've joined the audio, so go
Yeah,
ahead.
finally. Very sorry about that. I have a few problems with the computer. I just like to add. Sorry, Julie, I missed all the start. I'm very sorry. Anyway, one of the things that I have found, I'm in a choir in Castlemaine, 110 people. It started from a disability service in town called Windaring, and initially we had a lot of children, parents and carers, and then people like myself who were just interested in being involved, and it grew like Popsy. And initially quite a lot of people from the disability service, students and children and adults. But one of the things that's been lovely over the years is two of the adults who have stayed, both have, one has Down syndrome, I'm not sure of the other disability, but they have become a part of choir. And with 110 people who are all interested in them, they're very much a part of our choir. And it's been a great thing for me, particularly because I have had very little experience with disability in that sort of area, and so it has widened my eyes. But one of the things that I just like to comment, coming back to, sorry, a long story, but coming back to you, Julie. One of the things that I think every single person on earth needs is connection with others. And it's, you know, we all have our own difficulties in life, every one of us, but to wave to somebody and smile is such a recognition of the other person, no matter what they're traveling, how they're traveling. And you know, I have found this year through Zoom, our Peace Choir has been meeting, and we've actually got to know each other so very well, you know, in our sloppy pajamas and in our 90s. And sort of there's no formality apart from the singing, but we're knowing each other in a much more personal way, and it's really lovely. We've got that to go on with.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, to wave to a small child if you happen to be staring and you get caught and it's terrible, but you want to say, hi, how are you?
That's
you know,
right. That's right. And
even for anyone.
It changes the whole day for you. You know, I know.
Yeah.
You know, if I came, look, I've got a couple of scenarios that I still remember, and I would come home in such a bad mood because of it, and the people, because I said something, they were going to go home embarrassed and in a bad mood too. And then as Darcy got older, I thought, hang on, no, this isn't good. This isn't good for him. You know, for us to be getting negative around, because he can feel that. So that was where I started to change my mindset and just smile and wave. And the ripple effect's been wonderful. It's, you know, it's very positive. We come home from the shops in a good mood, and so do the people that were looking at him. And also, just one more, ask questions. If you want to ask somebody a question about their child, ask. We want that. You know, we enjoy that, because then we get to share more of our child with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Jill, for that contribution. And I think it's really interesting. I think what we've touched on is that, you know, with wearing pajamas to our Zoom meetings, it's about that authenticity, and that the idea of perfection and perfectionism really erodes that ability to connect to people. We have to be authentic and have those spontaneous conversations and give a spontaneous wave, and perhaps ask a question that of Darcy that we might not know if, are we being politically correct in asking this? But as long as we're authentic and we're coming from a place of curiosity, I think, there's no harm in saying hello and asking a question.
No, that's right. And I think I sort of portray that in the book too. Ask questions, because I would much rather that and share some of him more with people, you know, because he's quite a character, and he loves to sing. We've been doing Zoom catch-ups with his dance group, and he loves to get on and perform at those things each week. It's lots of fun.
And tell us, just on that, we're talking about Darcy and his love of sharing. What is he doing at the moment? That you mentioned earlier that there was some ambassadorship things happening with Darcy. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so he's become an ambassador of a group called Celebrate T21, and they produce every year a beautiful picture book of children and right up to adults, so from babies right to adults with Down syndrome. With that book, they gift it to all the hospitals Australia-wide, The ambassadors all get 2 copies. One is for our paediatricians and one is for us to keep. And they also make beautiful care packages for families that have a pre and postnatal diagnosis of Down syndrome. And in the care package, you know, they get lots of beautiful little gifts. And since writing the book and getting connected with them, I've collaborated with them, and the Unexpected Journey is part of that care package too. So the children get some lovely gifts, and the parents also get a couple of lovely gifts. And Darcy's going to be in the book that's going to be out next year as well. So very excited about that.
Excellent. Sounds like he really enjoys it. So that's the main thing, isn't it? That we're all doing fun things that we like.
Yes, and he does. He loves to get dressed up and perform and show off. And yes, he does do Dance with Bam.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about, you mentioned earlier that you've got your older 2 sons and you've got your stepdaughter. What would you say their experience is like? In what ways do you think that having a sibling with a disability has shaped their nature or their personalities? Do you think that that's had an impact on them in terms of, are they advocates? Tell us about that.
Well, Bree, my stepdaughter, she has always been a traveller, so you know, we unfortunately don't get to see her a lot. But I think it's made the boys probably patient. It's taught them a bit of patience. The eldest boy, maybe not so much, but with Darcy, yes, definitely. I think Darcy's very compassionate and empathetic, and I think that's gone on to the boys as well. And just, I'm not really sure. I've never, like, whenever I ask them a question, they don't really know how to answer me. But I think, you know, they've got a beautiful connection with him, both very different. Bree doesn't live with us, so but she's got a lovely connection with him as well. You know, even when we do see her, it's, you know, it's there straight away. It's lovely. But the boys, you know, they don't treat him differently either. They argue with him and they fight with him, and like normal siblings do. And I love seeing that too. But, you know, they're his big protectors as well. So, you know, he's got a lot of people looking out for him, which is lovely. So the boys were 9 and 6 when Darcy was born. So all of their friendship groups grew up with Darcy as well. So it's been nice to see that too.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
And so tell us, there's a couple of questions about BAM. Tell us more about BAM. So what's that all about? Okay,
so BAM is a dance group created by my friend Lisa Murphy for her son Buster. So the BAM, I do believe, stands for Buster Move. They also do singing and performing arts and things like that. The age group is like from 4 to, I think, our oldest dancers in their 60s, and we do usually an annual concert. It's loads of fun. We do lots of performances out and about too, like at the Mayor's family picnic and things like that. So it's great. They go along every week and do a dance class, and we practice the concert. There's singing, they do workshops on the holidays, and it's gorgeous for them to go and just express themselves. And there's not a lot of they don't worry too much about perfectionism. It's more about expressing themselves, how they want to express themselves with the dance. So
that sounds great, sort of that real process over product.
It's lovely. Yeah. So they get a mention in the book as well.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. Now, if we can just go back to your publishing and your writing, tell us, what did you learn about yourself during that 14 months, or just during the writing process? Was there anything that came up for you as you were writing that you thought, oh, I hadn't actually thought about that before? I didn't know that I thought that.
It made me know that it is definitely what I love to do. I really enjoyed, like, I stayed up really late a lot of nights cleaning up my book and editing and things like that, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. It was a lot of hard work, and I was tired, but it didn't feel like hard work, if you know what I mean. There was a lot of healing that happened with me while I was writing the book, and it was feelings that I didn't realise I was holding on to until I started writing the book. And once it was finished and I had it in my hand, it was like a weight sort of lifted, you know, like I've never not wanted Darcy, and I've never, I'm not sure what other words to use, but there was a little part of me inside of me before he was born that was very worried about when they did hand him to me that I wouldn't want him. It was just a really silly feeling. And I don't know why I had it, because I did want him. I didn't want to not have him. And I felt when I had him, when I got him in my arms, I felt guilty about feeling like that. Anyway, you know, life goes on. And when I wrote the book, I realised that for 13 years I was still holding on to that guilt. And I'm not anymore, because I realised that it was just a natural feeling that just came up, you know. And even through the pregnancy, thinking silly things like, oh, I wonder what he's going to be like, you know, sit on the floor and not do anything. And I don't even know why I thought that, because I was around children with Down syndrome. I could clearly see that they didn't do that. So it was a real healing thing for me as well. And I think it sparked a bit more fight in me as well, to, you know, to be a bit more of a protector and raise awareness for him and his friends. So.
And what advice would you give somebody who is thinking about writing a book, who, like you, probably had that book within them for a long time and is just waiting for the right time and the right set of circumstances? What would you say to them?
Do it. Do it, and don't let anything hold you back. There's lots of excuses that we can come up with. I think the biggest one is money, but I think you can always find a way to push through those excuses and do it, because it's really the best. And look, I'm going to keep writing. There's going to be lots of books coming out from me that you'll see. There'll be a follow-up for The Unexpected Journey when Darcy finishes school, because, you know, we've got a lot of different things that are going to be happening over the next few years that can be shared as well for people. So, and, you know, a bit of guidance, and yeah, there's lots of things to write about. And if you do want to do it, do it. Don't put it on the shelf.
What have you changed about your writing process from the first book to the one you're working on at the moment? Have you changed anything in your methods?
Well, I didn't dictate this next one. I actually have typed it from the start, but in a similar manner to dictating. So I worked out what chapters and things I was going to talk about, and just whenever I got a thought, I just quickly opened up my computer and bashed it out. So, you know, didn't edit it or anything like that. That's what I'm doing now. So I'm cleaning it up in the same way as I did with the first one, and adding things, and also I've during COVID, you know, we've all got a bit more time, so I've been reading a few more books myself, and you know, getting ideas of how to set things up in the book, like give people takeaways and things to think about, you know, and action for themselves. So it's going to be a little bit like that, and then the last part of it will be like my story, because I'm going to talk about Darcy a lot in the last chapter.
And so why did you decide to type this one out rather than dictating? And has that been a very different experience? Is there something about physically typing it that feels different for you?
I enjoy writing on the computer. Since writing the book too, I've been writing lots of articles as well, and I do enjoy that. And because now that I know how to get the book out, I think, yeah, I've got a bit more knowledge behind me now. So being, you know, just because sometimes I will think of something just before I'm about to go to bed. So, and everybody's asleep, so I don't really want to start talking, and so I just quickly hop on the computer and quickly type it out. So that's how I started the next book, and before I knew it, I had 12 chapters in front of me. But it's still a bit of work to be done. I've got to clean it up and, you know, work out photos and things like that to put in there as well. So
yeah. And so tell us, what are you reading? You mentioned that you've been reading a little bit now. So what's on your reading pile at the moment?
At the moment, I'm writing a book written by a lady that I'm working with now. It's called Onion Girl. Her name is Vivian Mason, and that's her book there, Onion Girl. That's about her menopausal journey, really. Just quick, you know, to sum it up quickly. And yeah, it's very interesting so far. I'm about 3 chapters in. I'm really enjoying it. And some of the others I've been reading from other authors in our community, the group, the Ultimate 48-Hour Community, some mindset books, which have been really good. And they're the ones that have sort of given me some extra ideas of how to plan my next book. With the takeaway points and things like that, and things for people to think about when they've put the book down, or put that chapter down and they're waiting to start the next one. They've got a little bit of homework to do, something that they can think about. I really like that, sort of reflecting on your own life a little bit and how you do things. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the gift that COVID has given us, if any. It's that we have had that time to slow down a little bit and be a little bit more reflective between our reactions. We're now sort of responding and a little bit more considered in the way that we're seeing the world and what we value. And it's been a very interesting time, hasn't it?
It sure has. It sure has. Yeah.
And I love that you're still in that writers community. Again, that comes back to that sense of community and being supported, and you're obviously still supporting them.
Yeah, and it's a great community. We all sort of throw out questions, and other authors help. We all help each other, and then our mentors, the ones that run the company, they're there every step of the way. They're there every time you ask a question. They're there to help you and guide you through the process. So I really found it a great process, and having that support, especially initially, because it's a very nervy time, especially if you have no idea how to get your book out there. Having them right beside you that whole time was amazing. It was really good. Yeah.
It's great. Jill's just asking here, how can she buy a copy of your book, Julie? Now, we did pop a link in earlier, Jill. You may have missed it, but we will be including the link when we share this video across social media. But Julie, where else can we find you? So the website, where can we find you?
Yeah, so there's a website, www.juliefisher.com. I've also got a Facebook page, which is called The Unexpected Journey. I'm on Instagram, just as Julie Fisher. I'm on LinkedIn, and so find me on any of those platforms. And I'm pretty sure my email address is on the website as well as on the book page, so you can send me an email or you can private message me on there as well. The book isn't in any bookstores. I was working on trying to get it into some bookstores when COVID hit, so that hasn't happened. So it's all just promoting online and just word of mouth. And
tell us about that with marketing your own work. What have you learned about that process? Because that's no small feat, and it sounds like you've become quite a native when it comes to digital marketing. You're on LinkedIn, Instagram. That's huge ticks in terms of marketing. What have you learned about that process?
Number one is, it sounds quite funny, but you have to get over yourself. You have to not worry about you've really just got to take that step forward and say, okay, well, I want to promote and I want to be recognised by disability groups and other platforms like that, and libraries, and I want to be recognised. I want to share our story and things like that. So you've just got to be really present on social media and just share your journey. Like when COVID hit, I actually read my book on my book page live once a week. I did one chapter, and people really enjoyed that. And I shared that on other platforms, and people shared it as well. So I think you've just got to be confident and know that what you're doing is good, and love what you're doing, and get over yourself and just get out there. Like my very first live is terrible. I came up in one of my memories the other day, and oh my God, what was I talking about? But you get better. Like, the more you do things, the better you get at it. And I think because with my journey, I want to keep promoting, and I want to share our journey. I want to help other families. So I'm quite happy putting my face out there, and I love connecting with people too. So it's quite easy for me because I enjoy to talk, and and I like to share our wonderful boy with everyone so that they can see, how great he is. And so my mentors, Nat and Stu from Ultimate 48 Hour, also they've helped along that way as well. They give you lots of guidance with that, and tell you how you can go about doing it. So
and since publishing, has there been any surprises in terms of the response that you've received?
Mm. Yeah, I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be where I am now with the book. It's been amazing. Like, yeah, it's been great. You know, people are very interested and asking questions, and hearing people's lessons from reading my book has been great. So I've got a customer, I think he's 75, and he read my book, and he only bought it because he knew me and he wanted to support me. And he came in after he'd read the book, and he said, you know, he didn't know how to get the words out, but he said, I just want to say I read your book and I loved it. And he goes, and not just because it's you, but he said, I think it taught me something. And I said, what did it teach you? And he said, well, yesterday I was at the shops and I saw a group of people with disabilities shopping. He said, now I see these people every week and I look at them, you know, and he said, I'll nod. But he said, yesterday I found myself looking at them differently. And he said, and I waved at them. And he said, at first I didn't realise that I'd done it. I sort of walked off, and then I thought, oh, hang on. I was looking at them differently today. And he couldn't work out why. And I said, I know why. He goes, why? I said, because you're looking at them like they're people, not a minority little, you know. I said, you weren't looking at their disabilities. You were looking at what they were doing as people. And he said, I think you're right. And I think that was one of the most heartwarming and what's the word? I felt empowered by his critique. You know, it was wonderful, because that's what I want people to do. I want them to do that. So
it's that age-old thing that, yeah, if you can produce something and it can impact someone, just one person, and then you never know who he's speaking to and who he can influence as well. It's just that ripple effect, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. So if anyone's got any other questions, just pop them in the chat box now. We are almost out of time. That's flown by, Julie. I feel
It's gone very quickly.
Chat to you all day. It's really wonderful to hear your story and to know that there's such a strong advocate.
Thank you, Julie, very much. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Unexpected Journey, Embracing the Beauty of Disability, is now available to reserve via the Frankston City Library's website with your membership, and you can just grab that. We've got click and collect at the moment. I think there are a couple of reserves on it at the moment, so jump on and reserve so that you can be next in line for that one. And if you're not a member of our library, you can sign up via our website. You can also purchase The Unexpected Journey from Julie's website, and we will pop a link up there, Julie, when we share this on social media.
Yep.
Keep an eye on the Frankston City Library's website for the great Frank Talks that we have coming up, including tattooist of Auschwitz author Heather Morris and our former Governor General, Sir Peter Cosgrove. They're both booking quickly, so make sure you do reserve a ticket. So that's via our website. And as we were saying earlier, Julie, it's a great way to connect with other people in the community, and it's not just about entertainment, it's about being part of something that's happening locally.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for joining us for today's Frank Talk with Julie Fisher for Frankston City Library.